Hey, everybody out there in Cryptid land. Tonight we have a cool guest with us, Thomas Sewid, and we're going to have a good time talking about Bigfoot with them. How you doing, Thomas?
Doing good. Coming to you from Forks, Washington on the Olympic Peninsula.
Heck yeah, man. You're way up there. You're in Sasquatch country. So
Oh
you
yeah.
have, yeah. Is that one of your shirts from your was it Sasquatch Island?
I manage SasquatchTheLegend.com. It's North America's largest Sasquatch museum and store right here in Forks, Washington. Been here for, I guess, 13 months managing it. And this is one of my Kwakwakiwak Indian tribe creations of Chonachla, or what is known as Sasquatch. And sort of my brand, whoop whoop. When I go on stages at
Whoop whoop.
Sasquatch conferences, everyone's clapping and whoop whoop whoop. So
That's
it's sort
very
of stuck
cool.
with me now.
I love it. I love it. So what got you? I mean, obviously, I usually start by asking people what got them into Bigfoot, but being a Native American, I mean, it's ingrained into your culture. Or well, your are you First Nation? Is that more
Yep,
correct?
First Nation, North American Indian, from
Okay.
northern Vancouver Island. That's where I was born and lived for the first part of my life, and then always worked up there for the rest of my life. And Kwakwakiwak, our tribe, the Chonach, the Sasquatch, is you'll see it on this cup here. It's our highest ranked crest. We bring it to life in our art, but most of all, we bring it to life in dance and song with a mask of wood and a fur regalia on. And the chief, when he has a potlatch, he'll have his singers drum and sing, telling them about an ancestor's encounter with the Chunaka, Sasquatch. And that's what you'll see on the stage, being or on the dirt floor of the Kilkshi, the big house, ceremonial big house with 1,000 or more people watching. You'll witness something that took place in that family hundreds, thousands of years ago when they encountered a Sasquatch, be it one with a basket on its back with a baby, or a sack where it's showing you how it catches misbehaving children, puts them in the sack
Yeah.
or the basket, and takes them to the forest where they boil them up and eat them. So there's all kinds of stories. It depends on the family and chief, but it's our, something that's always seen. And then, of course, with the welcoming poles, dowry poles in the old days, memorial poles, what people call totem poles, we have a diverse line of different poles. And you'll often see the chunokwa with the puckered up lips and the sleepy
Yeah.
eyes and outstretched arms, big breasts because it's a female in most cases, and you'll see those in the carvings. And it's, it's something when you go to Vancouver Island. It's Ape Island. It's on like Donkey Kong, the amount of wood carvings of Sasquatch you see throughout from the different tribes.
That is so cool, man. I bet that's got to be an experience. I've got to make it up that way someday. I'm gonna turn my phone to silent before I forget. Um, so I've heard I've interviewed Mel Scahan, and he's told me about the the pot the I can't say it as well as you did. The pat
Potlatch.
Potlatch. That's it. That's it. It sounds like a really cool event. Um,
Oh,
so
it's the greatest event on earth to us Indians.
yeah,
It's a place where you're gonna hear and see history of family that's being hosted and put on by the chieftain. And the stories and legends that come to life in masks and regalia and the songs, they go back thousands of years. So
yeah,
it's something to have a tie to your ancestors like that. And there's very few nations that can compare. And it's not just we Kwakwak from northern Vancouver Island, it's also the Nechwata from central eastern Vancouver Island, the New Chanlith from the west coast of Vancouver Island, up coast, the Awikano tribe, the Hesla, Hiltsuk, Shimshans, Haida, they all have potlatches. And I can't speak for the Klingits, but I imagine they do in Southeast Alaska as well. And they're great events. And, it's, for my tribe, though, it's where you're going to see the Sasquatch, the Chunaka. And when you're in a ceremonial big house where every pillar and roof rafter and massive cedar logs carved of natural and supernatural crests of the tribe, you know, Campbell River has outside the big house, the ceremonial big house, which can sit about 1,000 people. The front of that cedar building is massive and it's painted with a thunderbird and an eagle. And then standing outside with outstretched arms is a 22-foot, roughly high Chunach welcoming pole. And when you walk through the two great doors, the vertical pillars, the one on the left is grizzly bear, but the one on the right is a Sasquatch, a Chunach. And when that central fire is burning and you see the Chunach or other dances being performed on the dirt floor, and you see the firelight flickering and all those crest figures carved in house posts, vertical and horizontal. You're in a spiritual realm. And that's what our ancestors and what our people depict in our ceremonies of potlatch, and it's just amazing. And, me, I just love sitting there and watching the chonacha being performed on the floor. And behind it, you see it passing by the big house pillar carved like a
Yeah.
Sasquatch. It's just amazing. It's priceless to witness.
I can only imagine, man. I can almost see it in my head as you're explaining it. Um, wow, wow. That's sometimes I'm a little I maybe I could say jealous of your guys' culture because I mean I really am. I have so much respect and your history and your teachings and everything, and they've stayed so true over time. And I believe, well, I know Sasquatch exists. I mean, I've had experience, probably not as many experiences as you or other people, but one thing that really always sticks with me is the Native Americans have always had them in their encounter, in their stories, in their tales, in their history, and to them it's just another creature like anything else. You know, it's go ahead.
That's, I was one of the first North American Indians to come forward and share my tribal and family beliefs, perspectives, and stories about Sasquatch because I was watching TV, reading the books, and shaking my head in disgust and saying, what's wrong with these people? They call the names wrong. They mix the terminology and names wrong. Even my good friend Dr. Jeff Meldrum, when I 2015, when I went to a conference and there's Jeff selling his book. And of course, I had to stand in line and
Yeah,
awestruck with a celebrity from
yeah.
Sasquatch industry. So I get my picture with him, buy his book. And when I got home after a few nights reading it, I grabbed it in bed and just threw it at the wall. Damn, it put a hole in my drywall. My wife looks at me, what's that all about? And I'm like, capital D, small r period before his name, alphabet soup after his name on his business card. You'd think you'd have the wherewithal if you're going to write about the Kwakwaka'wakw people. Well, don't call us Quagyok. We're Kwakwaka'wakw. And if you're going to use our Kwakwala language and say that the Quagyok people are calling their Sasquatch Bakus, no. Bakus is a little hair covered bipedal creature, the chief of the ghost road. Tonaka is the Sasquatch, the big one, male and female. And the male one, like this design I did here, it's
That's
so
cool.
sacred. You only see it during the potlatch ceremony when a chief is going to be a chief. The son, heir to the throne, hosts a memorial potlatch for his father or family member. And if he does all of his duties and responsibilities, like gathering gifts, well over $100,000 nowadays to give out to all the people at the potlatch at the end to feed everyone, sometimes 3 meals a day, 2 days in a row, and to raise a memorial pole in honor of the fallen past chief and did everything, then that's when the Helicum, the chief speaker, will put a male Chunach, a mask with a mustache and sometimes a goatee. And when that heir to the throne dances, he's been Chunach, he's touched by the Chunach, the male Sasquatch. And now no one can contest who he is. He is the chief of that family and clan. So that you're going to be a Sasquatch investigator, especially someone who's got a doctor, a PhD, you know,
Yeah.
go to Northern Vancouver Island, come sit down with us, and we'll educate you about the right names, the different parts and components to our in deep culture. But most of all, we're going to teach you that you always respect members of the other tribe, Chonach, Sasquatch, because they are just humans of the night. We've shared our homelands of over 660 Indian tribes throughout Sasquatch Island, North America. We've shared our homelands with Sasquatch since the dawn of our creations for thousands of years. Our shaman apprentices in some tribes, quite a few, still to this day, some even do it, will go live in the forest for years. Having that Diane Fossey, Jane Goodall interaction with the local Sasquatches, communicating in their tribal language that Sasquatches understand, and learning the medicinal remedies and poultices and how the plants are going to help you and out there in the forest. And that's how the shamans become shamans. That's why the Omaha Indian tribe I studied with called their Sasquatch Sitonga, keeper of the medicine. So what I'm advocating is if you want to get your be a Sasquatch enthusiast investigator, because there's no such thing as a researcher until you actually do have a Diane Goodall, Jane Fossey interaction. And don't BS us and come out and say, oh, I'm having trading and gifting and
Yeah.
I'm interacting with my local
Yeah.
Sasquatch clan. Yeah. Well, what about, no offense, but what about the white man's magic cell phone?
Yeah.
Where's the videos? Where's the
Yeah.
pictures?
Yeah.
You know? And so it's the Indians are the ones that are going to educate you. So I always tell people if you want to be a good investigator of Sasquatch in your region, your backyard, because that's where you want to do it. It's too costly to go all over chasing other Sasquatch. Go to your local Indian tribe, interact with them, get protocols and permissions to go in their traditional territories, your homelands, and go investigate Sasquatch and maybe learn some words like how to say hello. I come in peace. I bring you a gift of food. I mean no harm. And maybe you will get that interaction going. And most of all, you'll get the respect to your local Indian tribe that, oh, see so and so, he's a Sasquatch investigator. He comes to our tribe and we help him so that hopefully you can get some good pictures and video because we need to always respect Sasquatch, never think of harming them or ever killing them. But we also have to get evidence of the existence of the other tribe so that we as a species can smarten up and quit destroying the environments around us like we are. And that's why the governments don't want Sasquatch to be confirmed to exist because it'll be the third Indian tribe, indigenous tribe of the United States, and the fourth one of Canada. What you guys call Cherokee down here in the US, we call them Métis, the half bloods. And they just got recognition about 5 years ago. And we indigenous tribes in the two countries, Inuit, First Nation, North American Indian, we cost the governments billions of dollars. Free dental, free eyes, free Medicare, free prescriptions, free post secondary education for us First Nations in Canada, and Indian reserves where we don't have to buy property. We just go build a house. And if Sasquatch is confirmed to exist, it will affect our GDP, gross domestic product, whatever they call it, because the environmentalists will team up with some of the Indians and blind them and use them as Indian puppets. And they'll shut down resource extraction for everything. If you want to build a rail line or a highway or urban sprawl, make another subdivision or drop the trees on your ranch so you can raise more alfalfa for your livestock or frack or do other mines or whatever, logging especially. No way. It'll be wrapped up in red tape and Sasquatch environmental assessment programs and regulation. That price of gas will be $30 a gallon before we blink. And that's why they don't want the truth about Sasquatch to exist because the government already knows.
Yep.
Emmett
I
and Tom
believe that.
Sewid's right. They're just another bloody Indian. And we're going to have to give them land claims, housing, Medicare.
You know what? What you say, it really ringing in my head as very, very logical, and it makes sense because I believe that the government does know. I believe the government knows a lot more about Sasquatch than what we give them credit for. And but I also think that there's a reason why they're keeping it under wraps. And I never could really put my finger on it, but what you just said makes more sense than anything I've heard so far. Um, I, because they are so human like, they have to be, another species of us. And so what you say is, yeah, that would make a lot of sense. And if the government was keeping it quiet over that. So, and I know there's a lot of great history tales that your native tribes probably. Well, I know you do. You tell about the Sasquatch and interaction between your people and the Sasquatch. Years ago. Is there one that is like one of your favorites, or some one you like the most?
I think it's the one that we tell our children, because
Okay,
it's
let's hear
even
it.
today I was out changing batteries and trail cameras and data cards, and I'm sitting there going, shoot, I forgot my bear spray. And just thinking, oh great. And it's probably gonna be the time I'm gonna run into a cougar or a bear. And then I thought, what happens if I run into a rogue Sasquatch? All I got's my pig sticker knife. It ain't gonna help much. But it comes from being a kid, PTSD. When mom and dad behave yourself. Tonacha, Sasquatch is always watching. I keep telling you that. She's not allowed to touch you. But you misbehave, don't clean up, don't do your chores, pull temper tantrums, steal, fight. Tonacha is going to come at night with big hairy arm and reach in where you're sleeping, grab you, rub spruce pitch like tar in your eyes. You're going to be blind, you can't see. And she's going to throw you on your basket, just like that picture behind me on the wall there. See that one? Where
Oh yeah,
over
I
there.
do. Yeah.
That's one of my paintings of
That's
chasing a
awesome.
girl and it's already got a boy in the basket. And that's where Tonopah is going to take you in the forest, deep up a mountain to her invisible home. That's why we can't find Sasquatch. And she's going to boil you up and eat you. So it was our boogeyman when I was a kid. I told my kids that when they were growing up. You behave yourself. Tonopah was watching. Right away, they'd smarten up, because we've lived and worked in the bush quite a bit. I ran a tourism company back in the day when my kids were young. So we were always out at my kayak cabins where we did paddle with whales with kayaks.
Oh, that's
We'd be out
awesome.
tour boat, 12 passenger aluminum tour boat. We'd take out and we'd be in, middle of the bush, basically on the, but
Yeah.
accessing it by water. And I'd be having a hot dog roast, and my daughter would act up, and I'd be, hey, behave yourself, eat your hot dog. Jonah was watching. Right away, she shut up, eat your hot dog.
That's hilarious. And that actually down here where I live in southern Missouri in the Ozarks, and we call, of course, you've heard of the boogeyman. Well, we call our Bigfoot down here boogers, and it kind of
Mhm.
derived from that. We don't have as much experience, with them. Maybe 100 years, 200 years or so. Not as much time as you guys have, but it's kind of funny how it's kind of like the same thing, but from a different perspective. But yeah, they
Oh, yeah, it's
compared.
like it all over. Like, especially with me being North American Indian and traveling quite a bit through my life, and especially going to Sasquatch conferences. I remember, if I was even in St. Louis, Missouri a year ago, February, I got brought out to fish the Mississippi River, teach them
Oh,
catch
nice.
the invasive Asian carp. And, we found earth houses on an island right across the Mississippi from us was a small town and a
Yeah,
highway. And
yeah.
here we are in the backwaters, and we found three earth houses where the Sasquatches were living during the winter time when it got really cold.
I,
And, it was something to see that. But, talking to people when I was down there, because, Indian sees another Indian, we always, hey,
yeah,
how you doing? Not acknowledge each other, because
yeah.
especially when I was in St. Louis, we went out for a beer and laundry night one night. And I ran into a native couple, and hey, you guys natives? Yeah. What tribe? They told me. So we started talking, and I said, what do you know about you guys are Sasquatch? And boy, pretty soon they were just we're both chattering like Sasquatches talking about Sasquatch.
Yeah, that's somebody I need to get a hold of. My encounter was about an hour southwest of St. Louis. So I
Okay, so I was just, I think I was northwest of St. Louis. I was in St. Charles.
okay, yeah,
Um,
St. Charles. Yup, that's real
we
close to
weren't.
where Momo was. That's the Missouri monster, the Bigfoot up here. They call it Momo.
Oh, okay.
That's
Well, we found his house when we're up there times three.
apparently
It wasn't 2 miles from St. Charles, upriver.
wow, wow,
Yeah,
that's so cool. But see, a lot of people around here don't have the knowledge to see that and know what it is they're looking at. So
and that's what with Mel Scahan, Shelley Covington, Montana, and a few others. I can't recall their names because I never met them in person. I just named the ones I have. We're North American Indians that are getting out into the Sasquatch industry, getting on the conference circuit. And
yeah,
even me, I'm pretty busy with managing Forks, SasquatchLegend.com, but we were going to have a conference again this year for the 5th year, but we decided not to. But now I'm working with a local city here on the peninsula to have a Sasquatch conference. And Canada, they're calling me to get a conference or two going up there. But what I want to see is more North American Indian lineup so that we
yeah,
can educate you because, no disrespect to my friends that are all investigators that I, hang out with during the Sasquatch conferences and that, but, they're generic. It's just the same run of the mill, non-Indian. Yeah, 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 yeah. Same stuff. And there's no real teaching other than like the Olympic project. Now, the Olympic project, Derek Randalls and Shane Corson and the rest of their team, David Ellis, they're not Indian, but man, do they teach you. You go to the Olympic Project's Facebook group or YouTube channel or their website, you're going to learn so much about the Pacific Northwest Olympic Peninsula based Sasquatch, about nests and clicker rocks and where they look for, like, that's where I learned that, I call it now where they say always look for a ridgeback that's high up. And it's where Salmon Creek is below and up there where it's impenetrable bush. And that's where you'll find the nests made of huckleberry woven branches. So to me, I took that understanding because I heard Shane and Derek talking about it at a conference like 2015, the same one I met Meldrum. But anyway, I go back to Vancouver Island, and what I looked for was I said, okay, when I used to live in the bush, now I lived in bush for years, and I would look for what I called a tit. I would look for a small hill that looks like a firm tit, a breast,
yeah, yeah,
and I go sleep on the nipple. And the reason for that, I could smell, hear, and if I had a flashlight, see, because I was elevated up on the nipple. But if I had to evacuate because of the threat, I had 360-degree evacuation using windage to my advantage. And I slept safe and content. So that's what I found when I used to go and out, doing forest cruises, and that was where I used to have to go up to these log tits basically
yeah.
to put a survey stake in and hip chain, and we do the prescriptions for deactivating the old logging road. Some of them hadn't been used in decades, so it's all overgrown with regeneration second growth, and we find nests on top of them. And
Oh,
that's when I put
wow.
two and two together. The Sasquatches are sleeping. They're the humans of the night. So, well, the stories of our Kwakwaka'wakw people, when you dance it, you come on a dance floor, the first thing you do is you yawn, you rub your eyes, and you go out onto the dance floor and you go through the different posturings and depictions of what your ancestor saw. But what your ancestor did was he was a human of the day. All of a sudden, you come across a sleeping Sasquatch. That's why it's rubbing its eyes and yawning. It's tired. It's nocturnal.
Yeah.
And so I started putting everything together and going, if I'm a Sasquatch, I'm going to sleep on the nipple on the tip. And I'm going to have my scouts and harvesters and hunters all around me. Like the nucleus, the nipple is the young, old, and sick. And that's your, the ones that aren't that strong. But you have your scouts, There might be some hunters and harvesters down below. And if a perceived threat comes in, like a human, Morse code. Now the nipple knows the nucleus of the clan. And all of a sudden, a distraction will be made by the Sasquatch scouts, hunters to bring the human threat away. Well, an evacuation notice might be given through body posture or vocalization or tree knock. Well, that Sasquatch clan is going to move like a atom. The nucleus surrounded by electrons and protons, the harvesters and hunters and scouts, and they're going to move away and get to safety and go to rally point one. The ones that are getting the perceived threat human away, after they get the human away, they're going to go to rally point one, and the atom and electrons and protons goes about living its life and its existence. And that's why it's very rare for us to see juvenile, old, or sickly Sasquatches, because we can't break through the electrons and protons, the scouts and the hunters and the harvesters.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because you usually don't. I've often heard people talk about what they call day watchers. Um, you
It's called a
ever
scout.
That's just the scout. That's the ones
Just a scout.
protecting the nipple during the
Yep.
day.
Yeah, I'm 60 years old. So if I was a Sasquatch and I've lived like them
Yeah.
and I'm the head of the clan, you know, oh, I could go to sleep. You, 17-year-old, get your ass down the hill. You, 19-year-old, get your ass down there. You guys go scout, do your damn job. I'll go to sleep. The young, old, and sick up on the nipple. And then all of a sudden I wake up because I hear a clap, Morse code, stand by, get ready to evacuate. Because Sasquatches, very rarely, other than Ape Canyon and a couple other instances, do we have accounts of Sasquatches in mass attacking us humans.
Yeah.
We shoot them to provoke them to attack us.
Yeah.
So, that being said, we know that Sasquatches are depicted in ancient Indian rock art pictographs being fought by us humans with spears, bows, and arrows, and these big hairy ones without weapons. So there must have been some clashes back hundreds, thousands of years ago. But we hear of mass vocalizations recorded by a husband and wife when their transmission blew on their pickup truck. They went into the pontoon boat on the trailer with their two dogs. Can't remember where it was, California, I think. Anyway, with a low light video camera, they record the fear in the wife's face and the two dogs as you hear mass vocalizations of Sasquatches in the bush at night. And there's other accounts of mass vocalizations. What that is like a bunch of drunk Indian fishermen converged in a port in British Columbia's coast when I was a commercial fisherman for 40 plus years. And you hadn't seen some of the boys in who knows how long. And you walk in
Yeah.
there, bands playing, pool tables are going, everyone's bullshitting and drinking. Next thing you know, you look over and someone hollers from the pool table, Tommy, Wayne, how you doing? And vocalization. All of a sudden, as I'm walking up to go see Wayne, I bump into a big hide with my elbow. And he gets up. Hey, what are you doing? Damn quackatoodle. You shut that beef up, you damn hider. I'll bring you out in the back door. I'll be the only one coming in. Well, I'd like to see you try. Well, keep pushing me and you'll try all right. Yeah, and we both go our separate ways. Say we bluff charged each other.
Yeah.
We articulated that I'm tougher than you. I'm going to put the nose in your back of your face. But do we actually do it? No. We're there to drink beer and have fun and chase girls and shoot
Yeah.
pool. We got no time for fighting and bleeding and healing. You know, that's what mass vocalization is. It's Sasquatch clans converging and out posturing and vocalizing and articulating and getting the tier structure in place. Because when the Sasquatches drag in an elk or a deer to feast, because it's a big celebration, a gathering of Sasquatches, it's their powwow, their potlatch, or as the frontier trappers and prospectors did when they came from Europe and other places to North America, rendezvous. They still do it. They dress up in muskets out and everything. But why do we have these mass convergences of bipedal creatures? bumping uglies. We got to strengthen the
Ah,
trees. You got to go to the tent behind that tree, jump in the back seat of that
yeah.
truck, and start bumping uglies with a female. And that's why Sasquatches have to have their gatherings as well. But we can only speculate. Is it annually? Is it every 2 years? We don't know. So, we do know that's or June right now. The powwow circuit is starting throughout North America. All the dancing, all the bumping of uglies and hotel rooms,
Yeah.
tents and campers and trailers. And, there's going to be someone from a tribe goes home 500 miles away. Next thing you know, Daddy, Mom, I'm pregnant. Hey, well, I knew I should have kept my eye on you. But
Uh,
mass vocalizations also brings up another interesting point. We have no history, orally, pictograph, petroglyph, rock carving, rock painting of Sasquatches fighting amongst themselves. So when you said earlier in the show that Sasquatch is another form of us, no, we are the inferior bipedal species. Our foundation is Sasquatch. We come from the Sasquatch because when we were in elementary school and junior classes schooling, we boys were intrigued by cavemen, drawing them, reading
yeah.
books, TV, whatever. Well, we all know that caveman was quadruped and biped, lost its hair, lost its brow ridges, lost its big pronounced philtrum, jaws got smaller, can't all look like Jay Leno. So,
Yeah.
and then when you go like this, smell your armpit after a hard day's work or a couple days without a shower, and you get that gag you stink. It's called body odor. And when you go to a doctor and go, why do my armpits get stinky? Well, that's from the remnants of scent glands that we had in our armpits. Like some primates back in the evolution way beyond that, we could excrete a scent from our armpits to repel a perceived threat. Oh, excuse me, but Sasquatch still has that scent gland
Yeah,
under
they
each
do.
armpit. And that's why you get that bad stink when all of a sudden when they expel. So Sasquatch is our evolutionary foundation. We come from the Sasquatch. But the thing we did in our evolutionary path was we started clicking rocks and rubbing sticks and making fire. And all of a sudden we had to have boats. Oh, then we
Yeah.
had to have permanent shelter. And oh, geez, then I got envy and jealousy, and I want that neighboring tribe's knife. So what am I going to do? I'm going to make a stone knife. I'm going to go kill him. I'm going to take his steel knife. So our evolutionary path created us to make fire, tools, weapons. And where has it gotten us? We have Putin, Trump, and others with their fingers above nuclear buttons right now,
Yeah.
all because our ancestors rubbed sticks and clicked rocks and made fire. The Sasquatches have laws, very strict laws, and I've learned that from many shamans I've interacted with and been taught from. They have laws, very strict laws. They do not use tools in most cases. They do not use fire. They do not have clothing, permanent structure, nor do they have warfare. And if we as a species are going to survive and get the Putins and Trumps to get rid of those nuclear bombs and not eradicate us and destroy this entire planet, the spaceship we're going through space in, then maybe we should look and tell the governments, give us the bloody proof that Sasquatch does exist so that we as a species can dummy the bloody hell up and smarten up and quit fighting amongst ourselves. George Orwell was right in 1984 when he wrote that book. We as a species are always at war. We just
Yeah.
don't know with who.
Yeah.
And that's where we are right now.
Yeah. So earlier you were talking about, I heard you mention rogue Sasquatch.
Fear the rogue.
Fear. So how do they become rogue? Is that something? Is it just something that's messed up? I mean, obviously, maybe you don't know the answer, but I figure if I'm going to ask somebody,
Oh,
you'd
no,
be
I
the
know
best
the
person
answer.
to ask. Perfect. I knew you
So,
would.
bumping uglies. Every
Yeah.
pack species has a younger male, stronger, come out and beat out the clan leader, the alpha male. And it's all about bumping uglies to strengthen the species, to make
Yeah.
it to, so it makes it stronger, genetic building constantly. So when your wife tells you, get out that effing door and grab your clothes and take your pickup truck and you'll hear from my lawyer. Well, pretty soon you're living in your pickup truck, your paycheck's being garnished for child support, alimony. You want to see your kids that you miss dearly, and it tears at your heart that now you got to go to court and get a judge decide if and when you can see your children. And you realize that when you do buy or rent a house, that your children will never live under there again with you until they're 18 and they're adults and they can make their own choice. I was there. And it was because two men sued me for $640,000 for
Oh,
defamation of
wow.
character in Canada. So 10 months later, my wife pointed to the door and told me to get the F out. And I got to northern Vancouver Island from two ferries because we'd moved up northern British Columbia. When I got back to northern Vancouver Island, my homelands, I had one thing on my mind. I was going to hunt those SOBs down and I was going to skin them alive. And then I was going to end my life. But when I pulled into Campbell River on northern Vancouver Island with all my possessions and my Jeep Cherokee and my rifles and my fishing gear and my bush gear and my native carving tools, and hate building and rage and fury building within me like a pressure cooker ready to explode, there was a hotel when I got into the city. And the Christian manager always put a quote of the month up on the billboard.
Yeah.
And it said, success is not defined on how high you reach. It's how high you bounce when you hit rock bottom. And I'd realized with $11 in my pocket and my worldly possessions in that Jeep Cherokee that I had hit rock bottom. And
Yeah.
I made a choice. I'm going to bounce. And because of
Yeah.
that, two people still are living to this day.
Good.
And
I'm not
I
watching
never
you on
went
48
off the
hours.
abyss. So when we hear of someone going postal and grabbing a rifle with a banana clip and opening up in a post office or a corporate office or a school, something snapped in their head. Some trauma pushed them to the point that they went rogue. They stepped off the abyss and rage, hate, psychotic thirst for killing erupt and controls them. Well, that's what happens to some Sasquatches when they get displaced. This alpha male clan leader, kicked, they're exiled from their own territory, can't see their wife no more, can't see their children, can't see their relatives, and most of them go start a new clan. But some of them snap, and I've seen their killing grounds. Or in Omaha Indian Reserve in Nebraska, pits dug like foxholes where it would
Mm-hmm.
launch on turkeys and invasive guinea hens and deer and coyote and buffalo calves, everything. I've seen it in Vancouver Island, the killing fields with elk bones, bear, cougar, wolf, birds. It's and fear the road. It's time to do a 180 and beat feet and get the beep out of here because there's a rogue living here. And fear the road, run because you will
Wow.
end up being a steaming turd in the forest if you try to push on a rogue. He'll eat you. And that's the cannibal Sasquatch. And that's why the Indian tribes talk about their Sasquatch. We call it this. What does that translate? Cannibal giants, cannibals of the forest, cannibal woman, cannibal of the mountains. So we Indians have known for a long time that when a Sasquatch starts eating humans, they're a cannibal. When a
Yeah.
coyote, a wolf, bear, a cougar eats a human, they're a human killer. They're not a cannibal because they're a different species. So when a Sasquatch kills and eats a human, they are a cannibal. So what is Sasquatch? We Indians are telling you. We know for thousands of years they are just the other tribe, human.
Well, they have a language. I know they have a type of language. Do they have their own language? I mean, maybe other clans of Bigfoot have different languages, but Do you think their language? Sometimes I heard they speak Native American. Am I wrong with that?
So they have their own language. Northern Vancouver Island, you hear them.
Yeah,
So it is similar sounds like. I've heard them in Omaha. It's different. So when I go to Omaha, an Omaha Indian sounds different than a Kwakwa speaking Indian from Northern Vancouver Island.
I got you.
They're the other tribe. They are human. So if you look at the humans of North America, Turtle Island, the Indians called it, we had a trade dialect called Chinook, trade dialect. So if me as a Kwakwa went to northern British Columbia's coast, then paddled up to Alaska, then went up through up the rivers and through the mountains and into the prairies, I could speak to other Indian tribes by saying money is moolah, sugar is sukwa nowadays with the English brought into it and other European languages. Skookumchuck, big salt water. So when I got to the East Coast, when I went across North America, I asked some Indian, Skookumchuck, your name? Oh, Skookumchuck, big salt water. We call it the Atlantic. Not that we would, we'd have a different name,
Yeah.
but you see what I'm getting at.
Uh-huh.
So Sasquatches all have their different dialects, their different language. But because they rendezvous, because that's the code, God's code, the creator's code. So they're going to more than likely have a trade dialect. Maybe it's not even oral. Maybe it's all body motion. Because when I interview people, especially Indians, what do you know about their body language? Well, it opens a door of a whole different understanding and speculation on Sasquatches. That's why we don't just hear them go, "Hey, there's humans. They got guns. Run." We don't hear anything like that because what they're
Yeah.
doing, Morse code, the alarm. Everyone's now looking where the hand slap, the tree knock came from, and they're looking at him, scout, harvester, hunter, and nipples waiting to know when all of a sudden he goes, and his body language articulates, run into the wind now. And all of a sudden, that's articulated to the nipple's already gone, the nucleus of the atom clan. So body language is huge. Even us Indians, we still do it. You know, if I'm out hunting, bear, ewa, steer, motions for you to walk fast or slow or do a circle. We use body language and we take it for granted as Bushmen hunters because we're so used to using our hands and our body, the posture. I even do it to my dogs when I train them. I don't talk to them. I don't use whistles. I use a rubbing of the stock of my gun, the fingernail on my barrel steel. Different sounds and hand motions are telling my dog what it needs to do. Because my dog's looking forward. He's got me behind him.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
got no time to look at me and read my hand signals. And that's why I use noises, taps, rubs, clicks, tongue even.
So and I've heard of people talk about encounters where they have seen Sasquatch make a tree knock sound and use their hands. Do you think that Sasquatch actually do tree knock, or is it all like rock clacks and hand or mouth pops, or is it a combination?
What would you do if the nearest tree to you was 5 men in diameter, hand to hand? The branch is 40 feet up. Everything on the ground is about that big. Oh, look, two rocks. You're going to
Yeah.
use what's most easily available to convey what you need to convey. Rock clicks, hands, stick, tree knock. We're taught as kids. When you hear that Sasquatch telling you stop, turn around, go back where you came from. I'm here right now. When you go to a shellfish beach, first thing you do is go in at daylight. But you know there's shellfish there, clams, cockles, whatever you're going to dig. And cockles being the favorite food of a Sasquatch and human, it's a type of clam. Looks like a shrimp tail inside, but they're about big as a potato. So if you're going to a beach where you know there's cockles and clams, pardon me, and Sasquatch likes cockles, there's a good chance you're at a beach that there's a Sasquatch sleeping up on the nipple over there in the forest. So the first thing you do is you go there daylight, anchor your boat out, dinghy ashore, and walk the beach. if you see a pile of broken cockle shells or clam shells or mussel shells, Sasquatch is telling you we're harvesting here. You just look at it like I've done a few times, get in your dinghy, go back to the boat, pull the anchor, go a mile one of the directions, and go to another beach. Respect back and forth between Sasquatch and the Indian tribes. So what happened? People always ask me, "Oh, what happens if you don't heed the warning?" Well, that's usually when trees get pushed down, sticks and rocks
Yeah.
get thrown at you, vocalizations and roars. Do you want to be on a beach at low tide at 1 in the morning with a headlamp with a bunch of PO'd Sasquatches because you're clam digging in the refrigerator? No. Respect your Sasquatch.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, what's one thing I ask a lot of people because I'm intrigued by it. I know it happens. I've seen it myself, and I like getting people's opinions on it. I don't know if there's a connection between the two, but like I said, I like getting a reaction from people. Orbs and Sasquatch. Do you believe there's a connection between the two?
Bunkin' bullshit. Period.
Bullshit.
Orbs
Okay.
are ghosts or dust balls or ball lightning. They have nothing to do with Sasquatch. When
Okay.
someone sees a Sasquatch, it's very humbling. I've been there many times. I've
Yeah.
been within 6 feet of a Sasquatch twice. I've been within
Wow.
15, 20 feet of them 4 times. I've been around them over 30 times. And so to me, the first few times, your throat dries, your hair stands in your head, your legs shake, your heart pounds. It scares the bejesus out of you. It's a scary, scary thing. I was a grizzly bear hunting guide for 24 years. I've taken out many grizz, full out charges, and had tree chin slides at my feet with my 12 gauge ready to go again. So I've been scared. And,
Yeah.
I'm a bushman. And I know that when you have a very traumatic thing happen, your mental band aid kicks in. So when people get raped or sodomized, sexually abused, traumatic airplane crash, PTSD from the military, every time you see them, they're not whining to you. Oh, it was so bad in the military. What happened when I was in Kandahar? Oh my God. You don't hear that all the time. They're stoic. The mental band-aids kicked in and covered up that
Yeah.
trauma. Sure, every now and then it bubbles to the top and things happen, but that's why we have counseling for our PTSD. But anyway, with people seeing Sasquatch, they get so scared
Oh,
that their
yeah.
mental brain band-aid kicked in for them to deal with it. I'm serious. It cloaked. It just turned and went into this fizzy haze and it was gone. It cloaked. I tell you, man, it cloaked.
Yeah.
They're so full of bullshit. Your eyes
Yeah.
should be brown. And
I blame.
orange and
I,
UFO flying and portal jumping. And come on, give me a break. Show respect to Sasquatch and quit talking bunk and bullshit about them. That's what I tell to the woo-woos. That's what I call the people that try to
oh,
make
I
me
know.
drink
Yeah.
their Kool-Aid.
That's the name. The woo crowd. But
Yeah, I got no
yeah.
use
I
for
a lot of
woos.
times I think, and this has been my theory, and it's just my personal opinion. I think the fear that people have makes them see things that aren't really happening sometimes.
When I was a grizzly bear hunting guide, we could go after black bears too. We used to always, as soon as they got, we're based on a 97-foot yacht. And as soon as they went, introduced each other, got settled in their stateroom, gave them something to eat, and I took them up to the shooting range. And I taught them British Columbia bush bear charge shooting basics 101. Don't worry, my job is to protect you, number one. But just in case something should happen, I jam or whatever, this is what you do. So shoot these targets. So we do that. And I got to know how their scope is. You never know. Some animal hugger at the airport might have thrown their gun case or ran over it with a forklift because it has happened.
Yeah.
And so anyway, we test their guns and we bring them back to the boat and we show them a movie called Making the Right Call on black and grizzly bears. How to judge a male to a female to a cub, how to pick a trophy. And even though we educated them as best we could the first day they arrived for their hunting expedition. And you'd be out there and pick up truck or boat, and it's like, oh, can I shoot him? Oh, he's a
Yeah.
big trophy. I'm like, are you kidding me? I said, he'd be lucky if he's going to come out 5 foot two. And he's lucky if he weighs over 130 pounds. He just got off mama's nipple. That's a cub. No, it's a big trophy. I'm like, okay, the road's 10 feet wide. How much of that road is he taking? About 4 feet. And look at his big Mickey Mouse ears. A trophy has little nubs because he's been fighting other male bears for the right to mate with a female every spring. And his ears are all torn up. His head's big as that. His belly is huge. He moves like he's got the arthritis, and he's weighing over 500 pounds black or over 1,000 grizz. That's how you judge it. So when people see Sasquatch, it's no different than a hunter seeing this first black bear or
Yeah.
grizzly. The mental band-aid goes all wonky and they think it's a freaking giant when it's actually just a little pup. And
Yeah.
that's what people do with Sasquatches when they come out with all these woo-woo BS.
So one thing I do have to find out, I know we're getting a little long on time, but I would love to hear one of your encounters. I would absolutely love to hear one of your encounters.
But best one is when I was 2012, we were building cabins on my Indian tribe 250-acre island off northeastern Vancouver Island for paddle with the whale adventures our tribe was going to do, and retreats to go bring our people to go harvesting traditional foods and experience their homelands, because it's our Indian reserves, 2 islands are abandoned. We are only tribe without land base right now. So anyway, we're living there in September. I'm telling the boys, I said, you guys watch out. We got Sasquatch or two on the island, 250-acre island. How do you know? I said, well, I've walked over there, and when the wind's blowing southeast, it's up on the rock ledge, sitting there watching us, because we're that sticks and forest matters broken down to like a pulp. It looks right down into our picnic table and kitchen. And when the wind's blowing northwest, so it's downwind, it's standing right behind where the tarp is with all of our power tools, compressor, generator, and the far edge of our camp we're working on. Come look. And I brought a milk crate with me, plastic, 2 foot by 2 foot by 2 foot. I put it down. I said, look at all the grass. It's all flattened here. I said, stand on this. What do you see? You're about 7 foot now. What do you see? I see our picnic table where we sit at night playing cards, and I see the kitchen. I'm like, yeah, both observation points are so they can keep an eye on us. I said, and the other thing, I go, you guys quit leaving that damn garlic out. I'm sick and tired of the mice taking off of my garlic. I need it for my crab and my prawns and for the butter. Oh no, we didn't leave any garlic out, Tom. You know we don't like eating that. It's you who eats it. Uh-oh. You guys been eating my apples? Darcy looks at me. I don't eat apples. I got no teeth. Oh, Res Indian. And then John, he's same thing. Oh no, I got false teeth. I don't eat apples. I'm like, well, my apples are going missing from the foot locker too that we got outside. Got on twist the wire to get it open. So that's when I'm thinking, I think we got a Sasquatch coming into our camp at night. So sure enough, we put a garlic clove under a clear glass on the table outside while we were at the picnic table around the corner from the kitchen playing cards. John goes, anyone want a pop? And go into the cooler. I said, yeah, grab me a Pepsi. He comes running back. The garlic's gone. And we ran up there. Sure enough, the glass was empty. I'm like, mice don't move glasses.
No,
You
they
steal
don't.
garlic cloves. So I said, okay, DEFCON, whatever, we're raising it a level or two here. I said, we got a Sasquatch coming in. So John, the next day, had to go into town. He had a couple days off. So he ran in with the, got dropped off on the crew boat. Just me and Darcy were there. By that evening, this is getting dark. I put my camo on, which I don't do when I Sasquatch investigate. I climbed out the window and grabbed my 330 or my shotgun, I think it was, and I pulled it out. Darcy, what are you doing? I said, I'm going to put the spook on that Sasquatch. I said, don't you shoot or point that 30-30. You just stay in this cabin. No matter what happens, you stay in this cabin. Quit picking on Sasquatch. You're gonna get them mad at us. I said, I'm not gonna shoot them. It's just for my protection. I'd never harm one. So I got outside the cabin and I'm crawling. Well, we've been knocking trees down, raking up the leaves that were falling, because it was getting into fall now. And we strategically had these big piles of leaves and branches and sticks that we were going to burn when November monsoons came. So we didn't have a forest fire. And I'm crawling through them, and I get to the entrance to the forest trail that leads to our outhouses. But I have this big pile of alder leaves. It's like maple leaves, just
Mhm.
brown, dry leaves. And I crawl in it and I skitter down with my gun, leaves, everything's covered, just my eyes are looking. It's getting dark. All of a sudden, you see this Sasquatch coming down the trees, looking at the back of my camp and cabins. And I'm like, that's a teenager, lanky, scrawny. And it comes and it grabs an alder tree, steps down with its right leg because it's an old skidder trail from logging the island decades before. So it's like a 5-foot berm
Mhm.
down to the trail. And it's grabbing this tree and it bends down, touches, and it's looking at the back of one of my cabins. Well, 50 feet away. And then all of a sudden I come shooting out of the leaves. No, you do. Grabs the tree, pulls up, jumps up on the bank. The tree's whipping, leaves are falling, looks at me and goes, hey! And I'm like, you quit stealing my apples and my garlic, you hairy son of a bitch. That was my best encounter with a Sasquatch.
Oh my gosh. I gotta say that has gotta be one of my all-time favorite stories. Actually, encounters, because I don't like calling them stories, man, because that shit's real. Oh, that was awesome. Well,
Well, I've had
Thomas,
lots. Well, I lived in bush. It was my life. It
yeah,
was,
gosh,
commercial fishermen traveling the coast, and you know, but then my homelands, like when commercial fishing crashed in '96, I basically went into the bush, full
yeah,
time. But prior to that, I was always there. If I wasn't commercial fishing, I was in bush. Going
yeah,
clam digging, you're going to bush. Go fishing for food fish to bring home, you're going in bush. Go hunting, well, you hunt with a boat. You go to a logging road system and get on an island where there's no other hunters. So bush was my entire life. And then my leg blew out from diabetes just over a year ago. So I've sort of slowed down. Even today, I was telling my friend I was with doing trail cameras. I'm like, oh, I wish I could be back in the days where I could walk from sea level, punch through the trees and into the alpine like I used to, and spend days up in that alpine walking. He goes, I said, that's where the Sasquatches are. I said, you got to get
yeah,
up in the alpine.
yeah. Well, I know you got some experiences. We might have to get you back on here to tell more encounters because
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
this
anytime.
this has been a lot of fun talking to you. So before we get off of here, Thomas, is there anything you want to promote or tell people
Just
about?
SasquatchLegend.com. We got an online store if you want t-shirts like this, coffee mugs, tumblers, whatever. It'll blow you away. It's an amazing website, Sasquatch merch, and we deliver all over the US. Mail it to you. And then you want to know more, go to Sasquatch Island on Facebook, YouTube, website, SasquatchIsland.com, and even on TikTok. See me and Biggie, the big
Hey,
Sasquatch in our store. We do TikToks from time to time. Actually, I'll do one tomorrow probably. But that's the best way to find me. And my
all right.
website's in depth. My Facebook group has to join it. It's the Encyclopedia Sasquatch. I build it and still build it so that one can learn how to have a close encounter of the hairy kind. Better your
Heck
chances.
yeah.
You're going to learn things that you'll never learn anywhere else about Sasquatch.
Well, I'm going to tell you one thing. I trust you more than just about anybody I've talked to about Sasquatch because I know you know what you're talking about. Well, Thomas,
Thank you very much,
thank
sir.
you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming on the show tonight, and I really appreciate it. And everybody out there in Cryptid Land, keep it creepy. All right, that's out.
Yeah, out in the woods where the shadows creep. I'm trying to find the legend that the people keep. Bigfoot's the name, got a story to tell. Footprints in the mud, can't you hear the bell? Whispers in the night, can you feel that chill? Bigfoot on the run, he's a legend, keep it real. Bigfoot, yeah, he's the talk of the town. Creeping through the trees, never wearing a frown. Legend of the forest, he's got a big stride. As the trap beats thump, you know he's got pride. Like I'm on a quest, searching for the homie, you know he's the best. Got my camera ready, heightened senses on blast. Snap a shot of Sasquatch, legend unsurpassed. Eyes in the dark, you can't catch what you can't see. King of the woods, living wild and free. Bigfoot, yeah, he's the talk of the town. Creeping through the trees, never wearing a frown. Legend of the forest, he's got a big stride. As the trap beats thump, you know he's got pride.